You guys, what's up? Happy Friday, the 4th. Hope everybody enjoyed the spice that we watched on yesterday's emergency stream. Emergency spice stream. Today we have a very special topic. We're going to be talking about Bollinger Bands. Very exciting. How we can use them to trade better. So we're going to get into it. How to trade Bollinger Bands. In this episode, we're going to take a look at what are they, how do they work, what the most common mistakes are when using Bollinger Bands, and how to use them to predict big moves, and how to use them to better time our trading entries. So what are they? Bollinger Bands are an indicator on TradingView. Just type in Bollinger. Be the first thing that pops up built in. So Bollinger Bands are made of 3 pieces. We have the middle band here that I've turned red to make it a little more visible. And what that is just a 20 moving average. Below the 20 moving average, you'll see the lower bands, and above you'll see the upper bands. Pretty simple. It's a nice visual indicator that is very commonly used. The lower bands and upper bands are simply calculated by taking the middle 20 moving average and moving them 2 standard deviations. For the lower bands, 2 standard deviations down. For the upper bands, 2 standard deviations up. Now, when using these bands, lots of people assume, well, if it goes to the top of the band, that means I have to short, or I should immediately short. Price is up, it's at the top. You know, that's a logical conclusion, but it's a big mistake because Bollinger Bands are not meant to be used in a bubble. When using Bollinger Bands, you have to be very aware of the trend. As you can see in this example for Bitcoin, this is back in 2017, the trend was very up. And you can see if you had taken a short every time that price had eclipsed the Bollinger Bands, you would have ended up getting caught in these shorts very quickly. So that is the most common mistake. The same applies for the bottom of the bands. If the trend is down, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should just go long every time it touches the bottom. How can we use Bollinger Bands to predict breakouts or increased volatility? Well, what you'll see on Bollinger Bands is during sideways periods, the bands will begin to what we call a squeeze. You can see that here. This was actually a few months ago, 2020. We ranged sideways for 3 months, and you can see the bands continuously getting tighter and tighter and tighter until right around the 20th of July 2020. They were at their tightest, and we saw a breakout move. So something to look for that's very important with Bollinger Bands is for when they begin to tighten or squeeze. Almost always, this leads to a volatile move up or down. How can we use these to better time our entries? Well, Bollinger Bands, as we were saying, are very trend dependent. When using these to time an entry, it's suggested that you use the middle band. You can see here in February, price was rejected from the band again. This could be a good indication to go short. Later in March, the middle band was recovered, and we see it used as support again, indicating maybe it could be a long entry. Again, we see a long entry. Again. And then one more time here in this example. So Bollinger Bands can really be used in both directions. They are not biased to up or down. It's very trend dependent. So here we saw the trend moving down and the middle Bollinger Band acting as resistance. In March, after this really catastrophic low, the trend reversed and we saw the Bollinger Band middle band act as support. It's a pretty simple strategy that I think anyone can employ or at least use to better their trading. The trick is really to be looking for the middle of the band and where the trend is. So the summary, always pay attention to the trend when using Bollinger Bands. Bollinger Band squeezing leads to breakouts in the up or down direction. Look at the trend, again, refer to it. The middle of the band can provide strong entries. Oh, that's a little, another one. Yeah, and the middle band can provide strong entries. Here we look at Bitcoin on the weekly. And if we believe the trend is up, if we zoom in here, the Bollinger Band may be suggesting an entry again. Currently at 9,800. So that's my quick take on Bollinger Bands. There's not a super ton about them. However, the 20 moving average with the 2 deviations seems to be very accurate. As long as you are watching the trend. You can see here on the run up to 20K, basically price was using the top of the Bollinger Band as support. This is not something I would usually recommend to use in trading. But as soon as we saw the weekly middle band act as resistance on, we see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It becomes very consistent. It's very trend following. So I recommend everyone take a look at Bollinger Bands if you haven't yet, and see if they can help you improve your trading. There we go. Awesome. So that concludes the mini lesson today. I just wanted to do something quick for you guys, but something that I think is important and valuable to any trader. Excellent. I love when we get these like little lessons out of the way. It makes the day so much better. It's like I'm already halfway there. Awesome. Well, I didn't get to have my day off yesterday. We had too much spice. But that's what it means to be a Bitcoin streamer, guys. You're a slave to the spice. Your boss is the coins. Something that I should have included in that lesson but didn't is I'm a big fan of these. You don't see me use them on stream often, and the reason for that is if you combine these with any other indicator, like let's throw up some MAs. Why aren't you showing up? Oh, moving averages, come on. It just becomes visually too much. You can see it's really just like too much to share publicly, and anyone who's like new or have any idea what's going on. So I don't typically have them up on stream, but they are a tool that I employ. I think that's why I started with this on the weekly. Bollinger Bands is giving us a level that maybe we wouldn't have looked at. We don't see any definitive weekly support, or we don't see much. We don't really see any candle closes as far as I can see exactly on this line here. But it's giving us something else to look at. And they really are. I mean, if you look at it on the way up, again in 2017, 2016, these things, especially on longer time frames, really can give you some great entries. You see a long period of just staying directly above it. You see more of that here again. A touch, some touches. What's important is that the trend was up. The trend was clearly visibly up at this time. And so that middle band really acted as support. we see countless examples on the way up. All the examples. There's another one. And then as soon as, and you can see that it really wasn't breached. When the trend was up, the middle band really was not breached. We had some wicking, really shallow closing and opening underneath it. But for the most part, it was support. And then as soon as we saw it right here, as soon as we saw it act as resistance, the trend started to move down. Quickly confirmed by another, this wasn't actually a perfect test. This missed it a little bit, just by a hair. But we have many examples, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 examples, trends down. And it wasn't until the Bollinger Bands retook the middle, price retook the middle Bollinger Band, that we saw the trend start to move up again in 2019 around April. Seems now, if we're just gonna talk about Bollinger Bands for a little bit here, it seems that we are in a pretty consolidatory situation where the trend is not exactly set. You know, we had a rejection here. We had a break in both directions. A break again. We haven't really tested this middle line. So something that I'm looking for in this week, probably in the next week, depends what happens in the next few days here, is we can logically infer that this Bollinger Band is going to move up a little bit. And I'm going to look for a test. I'm going to look for a test of that middle band. And if it holds, I expect to see price move up. And that will be pretty confirming. That could be pretty confirming that we're in an uptrend. Something of note is also in 2019, when the trend was up, a sign that at the time, of course, I wasn't looking for, but man, I wish I had listened to my own lessons in the future back then. We don't see any tests. We see no tests of the middle band. None at all. What it's doing here is it's really riding that top band, which is what we saw happen back here in our blow off top at 20K. We didn't see any tests. Same thing. That would have been a signal to me that perhaps this was not an uptrend in the macro sense. What I really would like to see now going forward on the weekly here is I want to see moves up, and then I want to see touches to that middle band again, and then see price move back up. Something like that. If that's not the case, and we are actually going to be turning into a downtrend, I would like to see price touch the bottom of the band, test the middle, which, I don't know, I'm just making up, would be about right here, and then reject. Act as resistance. In that case, this band might do this. Or if trend is going down, trend is going up, the middle band might do that. So this is a powerful tool. I don't hear many people talk about it. I think it's considered, for whatever reason, kind of like a noob tool, but it's really not. It's a great thing. It's a moving average with standard deviations. It's mathematical. As you can see, I think it's a good tool to identify possibly blow-off tops. You can't stay, price cannot stay 2 standard deviations up indefinitely. It just can't happen, or else it's going to go to infinite. It's like nothing can stay parabolic, and that's, in different words, that is what that's describing. Nothing can stay parabolic forever, or else it quickly encompasses the entire universe. Sweet. So Bollinger Bands, we'll take a look at these today. I'll try to remember to apply them to different coins we look at and such. So maybe we should check out the old Bitcoin, see what Bitcoin's doing. What is it up to? Okay, here's my chat. Sweet. I hope that the volume looks weird. I've been having tons of volume issues.